Imagine an enemy so terrifying that Roman mothers would whisper his name to scare their children into obedience. Hannibal is at the gates. This wasn't just a boogeyman, it was the chilling reality for the Roman Republic for over a decade. This is the story of Hannibal Barca, the military genius who brought the mightiest empire of the ancient world to its very knees. Our story begins not in Rome, but in Carthage, a powerful city-state on the coast of modern-day Tunisia. Hannibal was born into a family of warriors. His father, Hannibal Barca, was a famed general who fought Rome in the First Punic War. Legend has it that as a young boy, Hannibal made Hannibal swear a sacred oath upon an altar to forever be an enemy of Rome. This oath would define his life and shape the course of history. After his father's death, Hannibal took command of the Carthaginian army in Spain. He wasn't just a leader, he was a master strategist, a charismatic commander who inspired unwavering loyalty in his diverse army of mercenaries from across the Mediterranean. He spent years consolidating his power, honing his skills, and preparing for the inevitable clash with Rome. The flashpoint came at the city of Saguntum, a Roman ally in Spain. Hannibal laid siege to it, deliberately provoking the war he had spent his life preparing for. The Second Punic War had begun. Rome expected to fight Hannibal in Spain, or by invading Africa. They never imagined the sheer audacity of his plan. Instead of a conventional war, Hannibal decided to do the unthinkable: march his army, including dozens of war elephants, over the treacherous snow-capped Alps and into Italy itself. It was a logistical nightmare, a journey that many considered suicidal. His forces faced blizzards, rockslides, and hostile mountain tribes. Thousands of men and most of the elephants perished in the unforgiving terrain. But against all odds, Hannibal emerged from the mountains, a ghost from the north, appearing in Rome's backyard. The Romans were stunned. They scrambled to send their legions north, confident they could crush this depleted, exhausted army. They were wrong. At the Battle of the Trebia, and then at Lake Trasimene, Hannibal delivered devastating blows to the Romans. He used the terrain, the weather, and his brilliant understanding of his enemy's psychology to lure them into perfectly laid traps. He demonstrated a tactical flexibility that the rigid Roman legions simply couldn't counter. At Trasimene, he ambushed and annihilated an entire consular army in a thick morning fog. Rome was in a state of panic. In the face of this unprecedented crisis, Rome appointed a dictator, Quintus Fabius Maximus. Fabius understood that he couldn't beat Hannibal in a pitched battle. Instead, he adopted a new, frustrating strategy that would earn him the nickname Cunctator, the delayer. He shadowed Hannibal's army, harassing his supply lines and avoiding direct confrontation, hoping to wear him down. This Fabian strategy was unpopular with the Roman people, who craved a decisive victory to restore their pride. They saw it as cowardice. Eventually, the political pressure became too much. Rome abandoned Fabius's cautious approach and appointed two new consuls, Varro and Paulus, who were eager to crush Hannibal once and for all. They amassed the largest army Rome had ever fielded, some say, as many as 80,000 men, and marched to confront Hannibal near a small village called Cannae. What happened at the Battle of Cannae is still studied in military academies today as a masterclass in tactical genius. Hannibal, with a much smaller force, faced the massive Roman army on an open plain. It seemed like a recipe for disaster. The Romans planned to use their sheer numbers to punch through the Carthaginian center. Hannibal anticipated this. He arranged his troops in a crescent formation, with his weaker Gallic and Spanish infantry in the center, bulging forward. As the Romans charged, the Carthaginian center slowly gave way, just as Hannibal had planned. It wasn't a retreat, it was a trap. The Roman legions, sensing victory, pushed deeper and deeper into the crescent. As they did, Hannibal's elite African infantry, positioned on the wings, swung inward. At the same time, his superior cavalry, having already routed their Roman counterparts, circled around and attacked the Roman rear. The trap was sprung. The massive Roman army was completely encircled, packed so tightly they could barely lift their weapons. The result was a slaughter of unimaginable scale. In a single day, Rome lost an estimated 50,000 to 70,000 soldiers. It was the Republic's darkest hour. The road to Rome lay open. Hannibal's generals urged him to march on the city immediately. "You know how to win a victory, Hannibal," one famously said, "but you do not know how to use one." But Hannibal didn't march on Rome. Why? Historians have debated this for centuries. Perhaps he lacked the proper siege equipment. Perhaps he knew his army, brilliant in the open field, couldn't sustain a long siege. Or maybe he believed that the shock of Cannae would be enough to break the Roman Federation, causing their allies to desert them. Many southern Italian cities did defect to his side, but the core of the Roman alliance held firm. Rome, despite its staggering losses, refused to surrender. They refused to even negotiate. Their resolve was unbreakable. For the next 13 years, Hannibal remained in Italy, a feared but ultimately contained force. He was a general without a state, a king without a kingdom, living off the land and winning battles, but unable to win the war. Rome, meanwhile, rebuilt. They learned from their mistakes. A new Roman general emerged, one who had studied Hannibal's tactics, one who was his equal in cunning and strategy. Publius Cornelius Scipio. Scipio didn't try to fight Hannibal in Italy. Instead, he took the war back to the enemy. He drove the Carthaginians out of Spain, and then, in a move of strategic brilliance, he invaded North Africa, threatening Carthage itself. This forced the Carthaginian government to recall their greatest general. After 15 years in Italy, Hannibal was finally going home, not in triumph, but to defend his city. The final showdown took place in 202 BC on the plains of Zama. It was a clash of titans. For the first time, Hannibal faced a Roman general who was his match in tactics and who commanded a superior cavalry. The tables had turned. Scipio used Hannibal's own tactics against him, creating lanes in his formation to channel the Carthaginian elephant charge, then using his cavalry to encircle and crush Hannibal's army. Hannibal, the master of encirclement, was himself encircled. He tasted defeat for the first time in a major battle. The Second Punic War was over. Carthage was forced to accept a humiliating peace treaty. Hannibal's life as a warrior was finished, but his story wasn't. He went into exile, a man hunted by the Romans who would never forgive him. He served as a military advisor to other kings in the East, always trying to ignite one last war against his lifelong enemy. But his time had passed. Finally, cornered by Roman agents in Bithynia, the old general, now in his 60s, chose his own end. Refusing to be captured, he took poison, reportedly saying, "Let us relieve the Romans of their long-standing anxiety." Since they cannot wait for the death of an old man, Hannibal Barca never conquered Rome, but his legacy is immortal. He was a military visionary, a strategist of unparalleled genius, whose campaigns terrified a generation and pushed the Roman Republic to the brink of collapse. He forced Rome to adapt, to innovate, to become the disciplined, relentless military machine that would go on to conquer the known world. In a way, the enemy who almost destroyed Rome also helped to create it. He remains a testament to what a single, determined individual can achieve against overwhelming odds. The name Hannibal still echoes through history, not just as an enemy of Rome, but as one of the greatest military commanders who ever lived. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next story. See you next time.